Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, I'm Alex from Azelrix and welcome to this little special vlog. If you follow my channel, you know that recently I uploaded a video about what made South Park so great and how hard it fell. And I felt like South Park is a pretty vast subject and I couldn't just leave it at that. Plus in that video, which you can find in the top right corner right now, and remember to subscribe and activate the bell, I mentioned that there are certain episodes of South Park I think people should see and that some episodes will definitely be on it. The main purpose of a list. So I decided to do this list. And remember that these episodes, they only engage me if your list of episodes you think are great is different, if you think my picks are terrible, and if you think you have better picks, be sure to mention it in the comment section down below, and remember to subscribe and activate the bell to be notified whenever a new video comes out. I'm not gonna introduce South Park because I did it in the last video.
As a matter of fact, you didn't introduce South Park.
Say what now?
Yes, you said that it was useless to introduce South Park, an excuse not to work as usual.
Well, they know South Park, they are on the list about South Park.
No, you're doing a list about South Park episode everyone should see. If there is a good time to introduce the show to some people who might not have seen it, it's now.
South Park is an American animated sitcom created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, developed by Brian Garden for Comedy Central. The series revolves around four boys: Stan Marsh, Cal Brosowski, Eric Cartman, and Kenny McCormic, and their exploit in around the titular Colorado town South Park. South Park becomes infamous for its profanity and dark surreal humor that satirize a wide range of topics towards an adult audience. There, happy? I read a Wikipedia article about it.
But just say it if you don't want to work.
That's it, I don't want to work, and just like every YouTuber before me who was feeling a little bit lazy, I'm gonna do a top video because it's so easy to do. The best way to tell me I'm botching my content is still to subscribe. No, seriously, South Park is a very deep animated project, and that's why I believe these episodes are worth watching or even re-watching if you are a long-time fan of the show. So long story short, I sat down, I came up with 10 episodes plus 6 honorable mention. That's 16, so here are 16 episodes of South Park I think everyone should see. Kicking off with the honorable mention, we have Trapped in the Closet. Trapped in the Closet is an episode that deals with Scientology. It is really great at summarizing what Scientology is, what Scientologists believe, and how and why this might become a problematic in our society. And if you are watching and are a Scientologist, be remembered that I am not judging you. You are free to believe whatever you want. I'm talking about what the episode tells us. So why I like this episode is for one character, Tom Cruise.
I'm nothing. I'm a failure in the eyes of the prophet.
Dad, Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet.
Mr. Cruise? Mr. Cruise, come out of the closet. No.
Tom Cruise is so full of himself, he's so arrogant, and the irony here is that because Cruise didn't think this was an accurate portrayal of him in the show, he refused to do promotion for Mission Impossible 3 before this episode was taken off the air. Since the movie came out, this episode has been replayed many and many times on TV, but you gotta love the irony here. Next up, an episode that I mentioned a lot in my review, Things Change / Asperger. It's a two-part episode that came in a season where the fans of South Park felt that the show was going the wrong way. The creators were full on the Book of Mormon, and this episode simply was part of a season that is mostly believed as a weak one. Then it came, and as I said in the video, it's the episode that Trey Parker and Matt Stone took to tell us, the viewer, that as long as South Park is gonna be something they love, they will keep doing South Park, they will keep just making on random adventures that satirize the real world or not. The point is, if it's funny and they love it, they're gonna do it, and that's it. Now we have the woodland critter animal. I can hear you type an angry comment about how is it not one of my 10 favorite, even how is it not one of my 3 favorite episodes. That's how great this episode is. But once again, it doesn't mean anything. It's South Park. Of course every episode is great. Before season 19. So this episode is the episode that follows these little creatures from the forest who are cute, the archetype of a Disney sidekick. And they will follow Stan in a Christmas adventure.
We finally did it, Santa. We brought forth the Antichrist with help from our good friend Stanny. Death and pain await all living things.
Only twist, they are here to bring the Antichrist to life because they're a satanic cult. Oh, and I believe this is one episode that really represents what South Park is, a vulgar and crude satirization of a random concept.
And they all lived happily ever after. Except for Kyle, who died of AIDS 2 weeks later.
God damn it, Cartman!
Now we got major boobage! It has boobs in it. That's not why I love it. I love it because this episode is hilarious. The main plot of the episode is basically that Kenny is addicted to cat as a drug. And it takes him into this magic fantasy world a la heavy metal. And if you don't know, heavy metal is a certain animated adventure from the early 1980s that comes from a place where a certain part of the internet was not as accessible as it is now. Anyway, long story short, Cal's dad and Kenny battle it out and it's just ends. And that's it with honorable mention. I have no argument whatsoever about why they are not in the top 10 except the fact that they are better episode or episode I prefer. Now we have a triple episode, Coon and Friends, a parody of Marvel movies. It's the episode where Cartman puts together a team a la Avengers or Justice League, only to be betrayed by them and to summon Cthulhu as his one and only slave. Why I think this episode is great, apart from the hilarious joke and the great criticism towards Marvel movie, it's the fact that it's a big payoff. South Park has a recurring gag about Kenny dying. I think I'm not gonna surprise anyone by saying that. But after so many years of waiting, this is the episode that actually answered the question, how is Kenny always coming back to life? And finally, the last honorable mention, Cartoon Wars, the anti-Family Guy episode. This episode was meant as a response to a terrorist attack that occurred on a Danish creator. The artist had shown Mahomet, the prophet of the Muslims. In Islam, showing Mahomet is not supposed to be done. It's a blasphemy. It's like if I was saying that Jesus is actually and then the whale got back on track. And this entire episode consists of an episode of Family Guy actually showing Mahomet. Only problem is, in an earlier episode, Comedy Central had actually broadcast an episode where the prophet was clearly shown alongside Jesus, Buddha, and all the other super friends. So this episode attacks two problems. First of all, the right of creative liberty versus censor, by saying that we did it before, why can't we do it again? The end of the first part of the episode, because yes, once again, that's a double episode, I like double episode, I don't know why, is almost a dare from South Park to Comedy Central to air the second part, while the rest of America buries their head in the sand. The second problem is, I think the creator of South Park were a bit salty to be compared to the creators of Family Guy. Family Guy is purely a simpler show than South Park. It doesn't have this little double side to it where you can understand some form of social criticism. And when you put so much effort into it, being compared to a show so simple-minded, I get why they were pissed. Alright, that's it for the honorable mention. Here are the 10 best episodes of South Park. Number 10, the return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Tower. Kicking off this list, I think it's a pretty great episode. It's a parody of the Lord of the Ring, but a parody of the Lord of the Ring where you trade the One Ring for a porn DVD. I like this episode for the sole reason that it must have been so hilarious to pitch. It's simply that the kids are so into Lord of the Ring that their innocence pushed them to create this massive LARP-like universe. Universe that will later give birth to an excellent video game, so prompts to that.
You entered douchebag, is that correct? Are you sure you want to keep the name douchebag? Very well, douchebag.
But it's also that you see that all the kids in South Park are on it.
We shall slay the ringworm and take its bounty of treasure, for that is the way of...
I shall put a magic spell on you.
I have blocked your spell, wizard. Hey, what are you guys doing? We're playing Harry Potter. Ha!
Almost all the kids. There are some pretty great reference and parody to the universe of Tolkien, and Butters in Gollum trying to get back a porn DVD because he's now addict. That's hilarious. Number 9, Pandemic 1 and 2. I'm not talking about the special pandemic for COVID-19 South Park did lately, even though that was pretty great. I'm talking about that episode where there are more and more Peruvian music group around the world.
Crappy music sounds the same. I'm so sick of hearing this music everywhere I go. I think Kenny likes it.
And that the US government is trying to push them away as far as they can. Giving a great example of what xenophobia is. Also, you learn that the Peruvian group are actually trying to get these monsters not to attack the earth with their magic music. And for this episode, I'd like to come back on two things I said in the video about South Park. First of all, I like Craig because he becomes whatever he needs to be to feed the plot. And what I like in this episode about him is that he is the one calling off Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman about why they always go in these types of situations.
Do you guys know why nobody else at school likes hanging out with you? Because you're always doing stuff like this. You're always coming up with some stupid idea to do something, and then it backfires, and then you end up in some foreign country or in outer space or something. That's why no one likes hanging out with you guys.
You're being extremely negative.
Was there ever a moment when you guys first came up with the genius plan to become a Peruvian flute band that any of you said, hey, you know, this plan might backfire? I'm being a dick.
Yes!
You guys took my birthday money, got me arrested, and sent to Miami with no way home except to take down the country of Peru, and I'm being a dick.
It isn't our fault! You make it sound like we always want to be in situations like this, but we don't have any choice!
You know what stuff happens to most kids? They fall off their bikes. They get in fights with their parents.
I love when South Park kids actually act like kids. Second, it's the proof that if Randy is not a good main character, he is a good side character. The main plot still follows Kyle, Cartman, Stan, Kenny, and Craig to try to stop the guinea pig invasion. Long story. But we follow a B-plot about Randy who can't stop filming, and he does this crazy mockumentary found footage about the guinea pig invasion.
Oh my god!
Something's going on outside. Stay here.
What's going on, Dad?
Get back to your room, Shelly.
Randy's an asshole, but at least in this episode, he's a funny asshole. Number 8, 200 and 201. This is the episode of South Park, the 200th and 201st episode. This is an episode that if every single one in the comment section was to tell me I should put in first, I would not argue with them. Let's talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Can't you go a video without talking about Marvel?
Can you go an hour without watching a Marvel property?
Of course not, I have an addiction to bad content.
So, in 2012, the first Avengers came to screen, and it was the occasion to see Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man merge together. And we saw them as individuals in their respective movies. This was gigantic, even though nowadays everyone does it. And even then, Marvel didn't invent the cinematic universe. But in the case of South Park, 200 and 201 is the Avengers Endgame of the show. Once again, there is Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise, who puts together a team of every public figure that South Park has disrespected in one way or another.
Imagine it, Tim. Nobody could rip on you for all the rehashed movies you've made lately. There'd never be a TV show that pointed out you haven't had an original thought since Beetlejuice. And you put Johnny Depp in the same crappy music in every film. And if you're that in love with Johnny Depp, you should just have sex with him already.
And they want to suck up Mahomet's essence that allows him to not be made fun of. This is one of the most meaningful episodes of South Park. This is the episode where you see how far the creators are willing to go. Unfortunately, that Comedy Central will not let them do whatever they want. At the end of the episode, the character give a speech about freedom, etc. But the speech is totally censored, and I had to live almost to my 24th birthday before I realized that it was not a joke but an actual censorship. But the creator of South Park, those little bastards, they actually leaked the footage of the episode uncensored, which you can now find here and there laying in some relatively legal platforms.
You see, I learned something today. Throughout this whole ordeal, we've all wanted to show things that we weren't allowed to show. But it wasn't because of some magic goo. It was because of the magical power of threatening people with violence.
If you don't want to be made fun of anymore, all you need are guns and bombs to get people to stop.
That's right, friends. All you need to do is instill fear and be willing to hurt people. And you can get whatever you want.
This is a really meaningful episode as it really says something about your freedom of speech and the right to broadcast your informations. In fact, this episode is so controversial that it is the one and only episode to this day never to have been dubbed in French. It's also an episode that you can't find on legal platforms such as Amazon Prime or Netflix if your country has South Park. Number 7, WTF. Wrestling. So wrestling is often seen as a lesser art form, as it is fake. But tell me, what isn't fake in entertainment?
Oh no, you can't present it like that. When you see wrestling, you see two guys in their underwear pretending to hit each other.
And when you go to the theater, you're 2 hours in a dark room watching light on a wall. In fact, do you remember when John Cena was not the worst part of the Suicide Squad and was a pretty decent actor? Or when The Rock became one of the, if not the most well-paid actor in the world? And you're surprised that a wrestler could act? Wrestlers do act. Wrestling is acting, it's theater. And South Park really played into this aspect. You see, the joke in this episode is that wrestling is fake, but no one knows it's fake. The wrestling match are put together like Broadway plays, even the public seems to watch a play. Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, has his own reserved seat like in the theater, and there are sets, professional lighting, and everything. And South Park really leans into that stereotypical way of seeing wrestling fan as a mindless rednecks who don't know it's fake. It's an episode that dares to confront you to the reality that if you like something, it makes it real. Number 6, Imagination Land. Triple episode. Imagination Land is a triple episode where the kids go to Imagination Land, a land where every character in fiction is indeed real. It's an episode that brings together the Captain Kirk, Luke Skywalker, Aslan, Cupid, Santa Claus, and many more. As for the episode itself, it has a pretty great scenario. Unfortunately, Imagination Land is under the threat of a terrorist attack. And the line, "terrorists have attacked our imagination," comes back many times. The message here is that terrorism is purely bullying. The danger is real, but it is much more realer if you believe in it. The second main message of the episode is about what is real versus not real. I like How to Train Your Dragon. I also like Marvel, DC Comics, I like the Power Rangers, Harry Potter, Star Wars. And the places, the characters, the themes, the story in these universes, they took me into adventures. Adventures that I still remember and rewatch to this day. And the episode makes the point that if these fictional adventures are so meaningful, in a way, it makes them real for us. And also that at the end of the day, if something is not tangible, physically real, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that you have passions that someone else will not have, but that you should focus on people who have the same passion as you. Just like you feel understood when you're reading the latest Iron Man comic book or watching the latest Star Wars movie.
Oh, you want to talk about comfort and latest Star Wars product?
No, bad example. 5. Scott Tenorman Must Die. Scott Tenorman Must Die, or arguably the most important episode of South Park. Even classed by many as the greatest South Park episode there is. And why is that? So the pitch of the episode is that Cartman feels he needs to grow up. So to get to puberty, he buys some pubic hair from a kid named Scott Tenorman. Once again, I love in South Park when kids act like kids. And the innocence of Cartman is so hilarious in this episode because he doesn't understand that one day he will indeed have these hair for himself. And as I mentioned many times before, it's so satisfying when Cartman gets what he deserves. And all that is because of this episode. This episode of season 5 is known as a cutting point in South Park. Before that, Cartman was basically an edgier version of Bart Simpson. Yes, he was anti-Semitic, he was racist and rude. That's all because South Park had a higher rating than The Simpsons. At the end of the episode, Cartman kills Scott Tenorman's parents and put them into a chili for him to eat.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Scott? I call it Mr. and Mrs. Tenorman chili. Nya, 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 nya. I made you eat your parents. Nya, 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 nya. Jesus Christ. Christ, dude!
This is the episode where Cartman goes from spoiled little arrogant brat to being the embodiment of evil in modern television. And that is a great example of characterization. Number 4, the losing edge. There are things I love a little bit more than others in South Park, and 2 of those things are Randy and parodies. This episode is first of all the parody of every sports movie ever made, where a team of not that great player will eventually win the great championship. Only problem is the kid in South Park hate playing baseball, and I mean, have you played it? It's baseball, it's awful!
You believe that everything that requires you to do more effort than getting up, getting your stupid fat ass to work, and make an honest living is stupid.
That was mean, Salty. That was really mean. So in this episode, instead of trying to win, South Park will try to lose, but they win every single match for the sole reason that every other kid in every other city hates baseball. And because they're better at losing than South Park is.
Oh no! Look, we're gonna be the losers tonight, alright? I don't think so. There's no way you can lose to us. We're going down.
And also it's a parody of Rocky and the Karate Kid. Well, Randy will have to go one-on-one on a fist fight with every single dad in the audience. And the episode will end on Randy going toe-to-toe with the Bat Dad, the final boss. That's a great way to retell a story, an hilarious episode, and this is also one of these episodes where Randy goes from an everyday little dumber dad to what he has become. If I had to summarize it, Scott Tinnerman Must Die is a great episode of development for Cartman, and The Losing Edge is a great episode of development for Randy. Number 3, Here Comes the Neighborhood. I don't know how much I can talk about this episode on YouTube. Real talk, I don't think I can talk about the main plot of this episode without censoring myself, as YouTube will strike me down. And the best way to tell me it's worth it is just to leave a like and a comment and to subscribe, activate the bell, and share this video as much as you can. That said, Here Comes the Neighborhood. It's an episode about Token, and I know you see it coming. Token is black, so it's all gonna be black jokes. No, these are rich jokes. So the kids at school tease Token about being rich. And to feel a little bit less lonely, Token invites all the rich people in the world to go in South Park. And the circumstance wants that every single rich family is indeed a black family. And that's where the episode takes an interesting turn of event. Rich people are not allowed in crappy bars, they're not allowed at the back of buses, and the inhabitants of South Park try to make them leave by lighting the letter T for time to live on their yard. Except...
T. Time to leave?
T is for time to leave, Cash Chucker!
I'm not even talking about their plan about ghosts. That was... oh my god. The episode ends on the market of houses having skyrocketed, so everyone is technically as rich as the people they hated. And somehow someone in their right mind gave Mr. Garrison the finishing line.
Well, yeah, but at least I got rid of all those damn
Number 2, Make Love, Not Warcraft. So I just want to say, I have actually played World of Warcraft for less than a year. It wasn't made for me. So no, that's not why I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode for many other reasons. First of all, South Park has what we call a formula. A formula in fiction, it's an amalgam of codes you are almost sure you will see in each and every episode or close to. Here I've talked about the narrating formula of South Park, but this episode takes a different approach. If I say South Park, you think simply and crappy animation that grows on you because it's so bad. But Make Love Not Warcraft actually uses Blizzard's engine of video game to design their set. We follow our main 4 characters into the world of Warcraft until they finally meet that player who can kill them without them agreeing to a duel. And we see the main characters training to beat the guy because he's spoiling their fun. Also, Randy is pretty hilarious because he takes Warcraft too seriously.
I've never been able to say this before, but I love you, son.
I know you do, Dad.
Ah! They did it! Our world is saved!
What I like about this episode is that it's about geek culture, but it's not trying to moralize you. You see, Warcraft is known to have spawned an incredible number of addict players. And instead of saying that Warcraft is bad and that you should just go outside and meet people, the episode understands that with moderation, it's a pretty fun game to play as you play with friends that you know from school, from work, or even that you meet in the game. This episode is great for the sole reason that it talks about a subject that it understands. A mastery of subject that other animated shows could take notes from. Family Guy. Number 1, with apologies to Jesse Jackson. I'm not gonna say the word. I swear to God, I am not gonna say the word. So with apologies to Jesse Jackson opens on Randy on the Wheel of Fortune. He will get pretty lucky and have almost all the letter he needs to complete the puzzle. Only problem is, the word he has to spell out is nagger. And if you've been paying attention, nagger oddly resembles another word that I'm not allowed to say.
Well, I know it, but I don't think I should say it.
5 seconds, Mr. Marsh.
And in true Randy fashion...
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Huh?
Then Randy literally becomes proto-cancel. This is cancel culture before cancel culture. And yes, this is a Randy story, and I said that I hate when Randy is the main character, but that's the thing. Randy is not the main character in this episode. The main character is still Stan. We follow Stan trying to explain to Token that he understands the struggle of hearing that word on TV, that his dad is not a racist, he's just dumb.
Listen, Token, my dad isn't a racist. He's just stupid, alright?
And Randy, even though we see him more than Stan and he has a lot more jokes and lines...
Well, what was I supposed to do, Sharon? I thought I was gonna make $30,000! Stanley, the only reason Daddy used that word is that he thought he would win money.
Message later delivered, you guessed it, by Stan.
I've been trying to say that I understand how you feel, but I'll never understand. I'll never really get how it feels for a black person to have somebody use the N-word. I don't get it.
Now you get it, Stan.
This is a great episode because it is an intelligent episode. First of all, this is the first time I ever heard the N-word. And also thanks to this episode, I learned that it was not an okay word to say in our society, but also I understood why. You see, I'm a white person and I can't understand why this word can be hurtful. Because I don't have the background, I can't understand how frustrating and even scary this word could sound to someone who is touched by such prejudices. And this episode does a wonderful job at depicting this feeling. And as an adult, I understand why this word and many others can be said. For example, my father was born in Morocco, so I know that there are certain words I would not like to be called, especially in this day and age. God, I hate the internet. And with apologies to Jesse Jackson, also depict another problem. Randy goes on a crusade for not being identified as this character of racist. And he manages to go on and make fully cancel and illegal a word that is supposed to represent white ethnicity. Here Randy is the example not to follow. He did something bad, he tries to get better, but he only makes things worse and he doesn't understand it. And this episode proves something. If you can identify Randy as a problematic figure, your parents definitely did something right. So that's it guys, here are my favorite episodes of South Park and I think you should watch them. Tell me what are episodes of South Park you think everyone should watch and why in the comment section. And while you're there, remember to subscribe and activate the bell to be notified whenever a new video comes up, and follow me on my social media, especially Instagram, if you want to support my artwork. Then share this video with all your South Park fan friends or even someone who doesn't know South Park and wonders why they should start watching it. And as always, thanks for watching.